Some of the greatest breakthroughs in automotive care aren't found in the service bay, but inside small, unassuming bottles. We're talking about engine additives that can reverse years of wear, clean internal parts to a mirror shine, and fix problems you thought would require a massive repair bill. But a dark secret lurks in the same aisle. Everybody was shocked when they heard this, but some additives contain chlorine that turns into acid, and others use particles that clog your oil filter until it bursts. The difference between a magic bullet and a fatal mistake is what you know. First up, we have a true miracle worker that fights the invisible gunk robbing your engine of its power. Number 1. The Power Restorer. The thing nobody tells you is that not all fuel cleaners are created equal. Most of the cheap stuff on the shelf is little more than kerosene and basic solvents that do next to nothing against the real enemy: carbon deposits. The secret ingredient, the one that separates the magic from the marketing, is a chemical called polyethyramine, or PEA. This is the undisputed champion of engine cleaning. You see, every time your engine runs, microscopic carbon particles, the leftovers of incomplete combustion, get baked onto critical surfaces. They form a hard, black crust on the tips of your fuel injectors, messing up the fine, cone-shaped mist of fuel your engine is designed to receive. Instead of a mist, you get a weak dribble. This leads to poor fuel atomization, wasted gas, hesitation, and lost horsepower. It's hard to believe, but a layer of carbon as thin as a piece of paper on your intake valves can absorb fuel and disrupt airflow, potentially reducing your fuel economy by up to 5%. That's like losing more than a gallon of gas from every single tank. A quality cleaner with PEA, like Chevron Techron or Gumut Regain, doesn't just dissolve this gunk. It chemically alters its structure, allowing it to be safely burned away and expelled through the exhaust. For best results, you pour a bottle into a nearly empty tank right before you fill up, and then ideally take a nice long highway drive. This gives the chemical the time it needs to work its magic. It's not an instant fix, but it's one of the most effective ways to restore lost performance and efficiency for just a few dollars. Now, from a potion of healing, we turn to a true monster in a bottle that promises an easy fix for a devastating problem. Number 2. The Engine Clogger. This is perhaps the most sinister and destructive additive ever created. A blown head gasket is a terrifying and expensive repair, often costing well over $2,000. So when you see a $50 bottle on the shelf promising a permanent fix, it feels like a dream come true. It's not a dream. It's a complete nightmare. Most of these products are made from sodium silicate, which is essentially liquid glass. The theory is that you pour it into your cooling system, and as the coolant leaks into the combustion chamber through the bad gasket, the high heat will cause the sodium silicate to harden into a glassy plug, sealing the leak. And here's the scary part. Sometimes it actually works for a little while. But the thing nobody tells you is that it doesn't just harden at the leak. It hardens everywhere. It circulates through the tiny, delicate passages inside your radiator, clogging them solid. Your radiator becomes a useless brick. Then it travels to your heater core, the mini radiator that gives you heat in the winter, and clogs that solid too. Worst of all, it can even start to harden inside the small coolant passages within the engine block and cylinder head, creating hot spots and leading to catastrophic overheating. Mechanics call this engine concrete. They can spot it the second they drain the radiator, and a chunky, glittery sludge pours out. You've traded a head gasket repair for a completely ruined cooling system and a severely overheated engine, a fix that can now cost you $5,000 or more. It's like trying to fix a leaky faucet by pouring concrete down all the pipes in your house. After that horror story, let's go back to an additive that genuinely saves you from a massive repair bill. Number 3. The Leak Stopper. Seeing dark spots on your driveway is a sinking feeling. Oil leaks are messy, bad for the environment, and a sign that something is wrong. Often, the culprit isn't a catastrophic failure, but simply old age. Over thousands of heat cycles, the rubber seals and gaskets in your engine lose their flexibility. The plasticizers that once kept them soft and supple leach out, and the rubber becomes hard, brittle, and shrunken, like an old, cracked rubber band. This allows oil to seep past. A rear main seal, which is one of the most common culprits, is a $10 part that can cost $1,000 in labor to replace because the entire transmission has to be removed. Before you schedule that massive repair, a quality oil stop leak is a genuine miracle worker. It's not a particulate filler that clogs the leak, it's a chemical conditioner. These additives contain special esters and plasticizers that are absorbed by the old, tired rubber seals. This process causes the seals to soften, swell, and regain their original flexibility. The seal expands just enough to meet the metal surface again, stopping the leak as if it were new. Think of it as a powerful deep conditioning treatment, or a moisturizer for your engine's seals. It won't fix a physically torn or ripped seal, but for the vast majority of slow, age-related leaks from main seals, valve covers, or the oil pan gasket, it is an incredibly effective and affordable first step that can save you a fortune. But what about additives that promise to fix a worn-out engine by thickening the oil? Here's another deadly trap. Number 4. The sludge maker. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book and one of the most destructive to modern cars. You've seen the display in the auto parts store with the thick, slow-pouring goo that looks like honey. The sales pitch is that this ultra-thick formula will increase oil pressure in a worn engine, cushion moving parts, and quiet down noisy lifters. It feels logical. A thicker oil should provide a thicker film of protection, right? Wrong. This is a catastrophic mistake. Modern engines are built with incredibly tight tolerances, with oil passages that can be as thin as a human hair. Your oil isn't just a lubricant, it's also a hydraulic fluid and a coolant, and it needs to be able to flow instantly to every corner of the engine. Everybody was shocked when they heard this, but over 80% of all engine wear happens during the first few seconds of a cold start, before the oil has had a chance to fully circulate. Pouring in motor honey makes this problem 1,000 times worse. The thick, cold goo can't be picked up by the oil pump. It starves the most critical parts of your engine, the camshafts, lifters, and bearings at the very top of any lubrication at all. Instead of cushioning parts, it ensures they grind against each other, metal on metal, causing irreversible damage. You might quiet a noisy lifter for a few weeks, but you are trading that temporary silence for a completely wrecked engine down the road. It's like asking a marathon runner to train by breathing through a coffee stirrer. Let's move on to a truly futuristic potion that uses space-age technology to do the impossible. Number 5. The friction eraser. This is where automotive chemistry starts to sound like science fiction, but the results are very real. Your engine is a world of metal parts moving at incredible speeds. Even when perfectly lubricated, there is still friction, and that friction creates heat, causes wear, and wastes horsepower. High-tech friction modifiers aim to solve this. The most impressive of these is Liqui Moly Teratech, which uses microscopic hexagonal boron nitride ceramic particles suspended in oil. These particles are so incredibly tiny, they are measured in nanometers. We're talking smaller than a virus. When you add this to your engine, these ceramic particles travel with the oil and find the microscopic imperfections, the tiny peaks and valleys that exist on all metal surfaces, even ones that look perfectly smooth. The particles embed themselves into these valleys, creating an ultra-strong, ultra-slick, and thermally stable surface. It's like polishing the inside of your engine on a microscopic level. The result is a dramatic reduction in friction between parts like the piston rings and the cylinder walls. This leads to a smoother, quieter engine, a measurable increase in fuel efficiency, often between 3 and 5%, and a reduction in long-term wear. It's like coating all the moving parts of your engine with a layer of microscopic ball bearings. Finally, we have one last deadly sin, the promise of an engine rebuild in a can. Number 6. The false hope. This additive is the ultimate predator in the auto parts aisle, preying on the hopes of drivers with old, tired engines. You know the signs: a puff of blue smoke on startup, a constant need to top off the oil, and a sluggishness that reminds you of the power your car used to have. The situation feels desperate, and after a mechanic gives you a 4-figure estimate for a rebuild, the promise on a $15 bottle feels intoxicating. It whispers of a miracle, a special formula that can rebuild worn metal from the inside and restore your engine to its former glory. These products, often called engine restore or mechanic in a can, are typically a suspension of soft microscopic metals like copper, lead, and silver in an extremely thick honey-like oil. The theory they sell you sounds incredibly plausible. They explain that low compression and oil burning are caused by scratches and gouges in the cylinder walls, which allow combustion pressure to leak past the piston rings. These soft metal particles, the story goes, will be squished into these imperfections by the piston, filling them in, restoring the seal, and magically bringing your compression back. But the reality is that this is a complete and utter gimmick. The science is pure fantasy. The particles do not and cannot permanently bond with the hardened iron of your engine block to repair deep scratches. There is no chemical or thermal process in a running engine that would cause this to happen. The immense heat and pressure would simply blast these soft particles around, not gently press them into place. So what really happens when you pour this stuff in? The nightmare begins. The metallic particles just circulate around in your engine's lifeblood. The larger particles make a beeline for your oil filter, which does its job and traps them. The problem is, you've just dumped an entire bottle of contaminants into your engine, and the filter becomes overwhelmed and clogs completely. Once clogged, a bypass valve opens, which is a safety feature to prevent oil starvation. Now, your engine is being fed a steady diet of completely unfiltered oil that is now saturated with the remaining abrasive metal particles. This gritty metallic slurry is then pumped to the most sensitive and expensive parts of your engine: the crankshaft bearings, the camshaft lobes, and the intricate solenoids for your variable valve timing system. Instead of fixing scratches, you are actively creating thousands of new ones, grinding away at the precision surfaces that keep your engine running smoothly. The smaller particles that don't get filtered fall out of suspension and mix with the thick oil, forming a dense, glittery sludge that settles in the bottom of your oil pan, waiting to clog the oil pickup tube and starve the entire engine. It's the equivalent of having a cavity and trying to fix it by swishing sand around in your mouth. Is it all just a big marketing game? The thing is, with so many products on the shelf, it's easy to grab the wrong one. Are we, the everyday drivers, missing some key detail that separates the magic from the catastrophic? The reality is that knowledge is your only defense against a costly mistake. These chemicals can either be your engine's best friend or its worst enemy. What's the most outrageous claim you've ever seen on an additive bottle? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more secrets mechanics don't want you to know.